I remember the most confidence was the drive over to the audition. I was just like, there's no reason I'm not going to get this. Saying the lines out loud alone, because there was no cell phones back then. Now they kind of, you can call somebody to run the scene.
Yeah.
Back there was driving alone, saying the lines.
Stopping at a stop sign, looking at the,
right,
the lines in the car.
Man, that was exciting. And then right when I entered the casting building, that's when I started going, uh-oh. And then seeing the other people audition, you're just like, well, yeah, they're better than me. What the hell am I doing here?
I mean, if you get 1 out of 50 auditions, you've succeeded. I mean, it's mostly people say no, and so you have to get used to failure along the way. That's part of auditioning. I said I'm suddenly remembering things. What is that?
Memory?
Well, yes.
Maybe your memory's trying to tell you something about your present.
Like what?
Now, because so much of Jay Kelly is about creative memories, and his existential crisis kind of kicks off with a former colleague and friend's memory of an audition, I wanted to start with some questions about early on in your career.
Sure.
So first of all, when you were starting out, how did you approach auditions, and did you have any superstitions, or did you have anything you had to do to get over nerves?
Well, nerves were a trick early, because obviously when you first start, you just feel like you're conning people and lying and stuff. And it took a long time before I broke through to even getting callbacks, because nerves get in the way.
It's a totally separate skill, it seems to me. I think if you've got any kind of natural pride or sense of your own dignity, you hate auditions. But for some reason, I think because I don't really have much pride or a natural belief in my own talents, I sort of was okay at it, because it was like I could throw caution to the wind, and I was always very good at going in to a situation where no one had any expectations of me, because I have no expectations of myself.
I remember kind of learning about fear as a gift in early auditioning, just like sports in school. It's like, oh, what's
adrenaline.
This feeling, this crazy adrenaline?
Oh,
and you
yeah.
go, oh no, this is here for me. Like, I'm supposed to use this, but I didn't really understand that for a while.
There wasn't a person you saw at a casting agent that you weren't afraid of, too.
And if you ever held your sides up and you saw them shaking.
Oh my God.
And then it'd make you more nervous.
Oh yeah, well maybe the character would shake.
Yeah. I'm going to use the shake.
The agents always coming up with a way not to break your heart. Just like they are going with someone who's born more in October. That's like, October, okay. If I was born in October, I would have got it? Yes.
I should have said October.
Why did I say September? What a stupid idiot.
I found that I would eat in scenes if I was trying to make it funny, because if you had a mouthful of food, you could get a laugh when you're auditioning for sitcoms. Or I took a dog in under my arm once. I mean, I did a lot of, took big chances when I was a young actor. But overall, it took about 3 years before I got to the place where I was comfortable auditioning, It takes a minute.
Did you tell Brad Pitt to always be eating in Ocean's 11 movies?
Isn't that crazy? He was always eating. I know. Literally, he's eating in every scene in that one.
Was there a film that you thought you nailed and you really hoped that you got, and maybe you ultimately didn't get that part, or one that you thought that you, the audition afterward, you were like, oh God, that was terrible, but then you ended up getting it?
I remember I auditioned for Francis Ford Coppola about 30 years ago. Might have been Dracula, I can't remember what it was, and I thought I did a really good job. And the feedback was from him directly, saying he thought I was drunk. So clearly I didn't quite nail that one.
I went to meet Woody Allen for Match Point, and I was sure I hadn't got the part. And I got in there, and he said, hello, I'm Woody Allen, and I've seen some of your work on tape, and I would really like to meet you, to know what it was like to meet you in the flesh. And now I have, so thank you so much for coming. And then I was ushered out, and half an hour later, or an hour later, I got back to the hotel, and a hand-delivered letter came to my door saying, I'd be delighted to offer you the part. It was the briefest audition of my life, and I was sure I'd failed.
When you were starting out, did you feel like there was an actor that you were constantly compared to, in your age group?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know, because, you know, you gotta remember, I got successful, so to be compared to somebody, when I was 33. It didn't happen when I was young. And so by that point, Brad was already a big star. You know, he'd done Thelma and Louise and was on his way doing some big movies. And, you know, all the guys that sort of are around my age who are big stars still, you know, Cruise had been a big hit for 10 years before that. So, you know, I didn't really have anybody that I was compared to, because, you know, I'd succeeded so late, you know.
In my head, I pretended it was Tom Cruise. I was like, yeah, I'm the next Cruise. They're looking for the... But I actually, I don't know who the hell I thought I was going to
Well, you couldn't, because there is no other Adam Sandler. I mean,
Yes.
that's the crazy thing. You had to be, I'm assuming, I'm having this question
Yeah.
and conversation with you.
Yeah.
You had to be ready to let go of trying to be like anybody else, because there wasn't a you before.
I
mean,
guess
that's an
so.
amazing-
I guess that's what. But back then, you would jump on whatever was happening. You're
Yeah.
like, I guess I could do that. You know who I used to want to get the part? Matthew Broderick. I was just like, oh my God, that would have been cool to be that guy. Like
Yeah.
I got excited for his roles.
I was so weird. Always was thinking about actresses I loved from the past.
Yeah,
so I was
yeah.
always dreaming of,
Right.
you know, oh my God, if I could be
Your
like Barbara
parents' buddies.
Stanwyck, or
Oh,
if
yeah,
I could be
yeah.
like, you know. So I was always kind of chasing an idea, maybe that didn't exist or that was from a former time.
That's cool, Barbara Stanwyck.
But I feel like if you start young enough, it's less competitive. Like when you're 11, 12, you
That's
don't
true.
know to be trying to be like anybody else.
That's good.
So I felt lucky.
Early on, how does that relationship kind of work between an actor and a casting director?
Well, I remember one guy named John Levy who really was in charge of ER, and we become friends because I would go over to the Warner Brothers, to the television part of Warner Brothers, and I would just hang out in the hallways and just talk to people. Hey, John, how you doing? And eventually, he's like, well, I've got this is coming out, and there was the script for ER. And I was, you know, I was being offered a pilot for NBC at the same time. And I wanted to do the script to ER because it was Michael Crichton and Steven Spielberg and all those people involved. I thought that would be exciting. And Jonathan, you know, really helped me get there. So, you know, it becomes a personal relationship when you're a young actor.
Can't tell you how much I appreciate this. Really do.
I have to ask about the moment in the theater of Jay Kelly with the montage.
Yes. The scene in the movie is my first take, because I didn't know he was going to do that. I didn't know he was going to use my actual films. And he, I think, wanted to surprise me. And it did surprise me. It shocked me. I kind of thought it was just going to play on Adam and my face. I didn't really know they were going to actually, you know, show these films. So it was surprise, mostly. And I was a little taken aback by it because, you know, you don't really go back and watch a lot of the stuff you do, or your Norma Desmond, you know. So sitting in a theater with a bunch of other people, watching yourself age on screen was a bit of a surprise for me.
It's a beautiful moment. It's also appropriate for 2025 for you because you also did your Broadway play debut for Good Night and Good Luck, which you also directed 20 years prior, so then you're in the Edward role. For most of Hollywood history, you're either a TV actor or a film actor. Now you can do TV, film, Broadway, you can do everything, and direct films. The fact that you're able to kind of do everything in a period where people weren't really able to do that, is that one of the things you're most proud about?
Well, it was a tricky one because the narrative, of course, was, you know, at the time you couldn't go from television to films. There were only a few people that had done it. And there were some who famously, the early, just years before that, had failed spectacularly at it. So while I was doing ER, I was doing all these films, and some of them were really good, some of them were not good. But I also, while I was doing ER, Out of Sight, also did Three Kings, I also did Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And they weren't successful because part of it was because I was also on a show that 40 million people were watching. So the narrative, of course, became, because they weren't successful, was he's not going to make it. You know, he's not going to be able to make it in the film. And then I was just lucky because the first film that came out after I left ER, after my 5-year contract was over, was A Perfect Storm. It was a big, big, big hit. Now, it was a big hit because it's a movie about a wave. It wasn't about me. But since I'd taken a lot of crap for Batman and Robin, and I got to take the credit for, for The Perfect Storm. So, it was a thing. Am I proud of it? I mean, I'm thrilled that it happened. To say you're proud of it would say that you had some say in that, and I'm not quite sure that's necessarily how it works,